Welcome to the Festival of Storytellers. I thank everybody that's involved with this process because we know writers need readers and writers need publishers.
Experience is not about the publisher, it is about us, the authors.
Hi, I'm Jill Fandrich, and I am happy to be here today with you. And welcome back. Thank you for coming here today. I want to thank Reader's Magnet for all they're doing. I really appreciate being a part of this program. And I'd like to acknowledge all the other authors and the wonderful contributions they're making. It's wonderful to see. I am the author of Elevate Your Mind to Success. Success is Elemental. Who Connects Your Dots, and Medically Speaking, Who Connects Your Dots, and Students Who Connects Your Dots. I'm also the author of some disease prevention books on digital form, and I am going to be the author of The Missing Variable, soon to arrive. We had a wonderful discussion yesterday. How about that discussion? There were so many wonderful topics brought up and a lot of thought-provoking topics we got into. I first want to say, Bob, hello, Jill. I'm new here. I hope I can learn something. Oh, I hope so too, Bob. I think you came on a really good day. Welcome. It's nice to have you here. All my books can be found on in almost any retail, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and also some can be found on my website, www.abookintime.net. And yesterday we talked about the last part of Success is Elemental, and we got into character qualities and some leadership skills and some lack of leadership skills, which was a wonderful conversation. And many of this can be found in my obstacles, overcoming obstacles section in quite a few of my books. So if you get a chance, please check those out. It'll be a wonderful reference for you. And also, I want to say that because of our conversation yesterday, we really hit a lot of topics that got me thinking. And one of the things that I talk about is actively listening. And I learned so much yesterday from all of you. I want to thank you for the participation in the discussion, because now after the missing variable, there's going to be when leaders don't lead. So this has led to what I see as find a need and then meet it. So I'm going to get in. Catherine says, love to see you again, Jill. Thank you, Catherine. It's wonderful to be here. So I was thinking, since we all contributed to this book, I would like to offer, if anybody would like to share their story, not real names or companies or businesses to protect the innocent, but if you would like to share a scenario or a topic or something you've experienced or you've seen somebody experience, you can reach me at info@abookintime.net. That's my business email. And if you share a story or some kind of scenario that works, then I will send you a free autographed copy when the time comes. I believe in collaboration, and I believe in acknowledgement too. And if you would like to share something to go in this book, When Leaders Don't Lead, that's what I like to base my books off of, is real life situations, things that we experience and we want to find answers for and that we're going through. And this way we can help each other. So by you sharing the story, then we can share that with other people too, and hopefully find some resolution to some of these things that we're going through. So again, any contribution, you will be I hopefully rewarded by having a copy of this book. I would love to send you one. And I'm offering the same thing since I haven't written The Missing Variable yet. If you have some things that have come up in your life where you've done all the right things, you've tried all the right steps, and you feel like you've put everything in place like it should be, but you don't quite get the answer that you're looking for, then if you'd like to share that story with me, I will include it in this book, and you can read it later as I send you a copy of the book. I would send a free copy of that book as well. So that's just something that came to my mind and I thought was fun and kind of connects us even more. After our wonderful conversation, it was, Bruce says, howdy, Jill. Howdy, Bruce. I like that. So in regards to yesterday, JP, I don't know if you're here or not today. I hope so. But you had a question that I didn't quite get to before my time ended with you. And that is it better to be an extrovert if you're a leader? It seems most of them are. What can you advise to introverts who are into leadership? And this is a wonderful question. And I think introverts can make wonderful leaders. I don't think it's about being an extrovert or an introvert. It's about those character qualities. And so some things that an introvert can take into mind is you do have to have some good communication skills. They don't have to be the best. You don't have to be the best public speaker, but it is important to have some form of good public speaking, and more important, a way to express your ideas both clearly and confidently. This is going to build confidence in you. It's going to build confidence in your staff, and it's going to lead to some really good leadership skills. And also, as we talked yesterday about actively listening, introverts often make very good active listeners. And this is a very important and valuable leadership trait, as that's how you're going to build relationships. And that's how you're really going to see the needs and concerns of your staff. Nicole says, hello, Jill. I'm glad you're here again today. Thank you, Nicole. I'm really glad to be back. I loved our conversation yesterday. It's so thought-provoking, and I'm happy to be here again today. It's so important for an introvert to play on your strengths. Generally, an introvert might not like the limelight, and they are better at one-on-one conversations or a smaller group setting. Well, go with it. Make that situation possible more often, and use more of a mentorship or a personal guidance in how you lead. And that's going to also build special bonds with your teammates and your employees. And make sure that you have a clear vision for your team. Lead with a purpose and a direction, and know what your long-term goals are, and have a strategic plan. Paul says, I believe anyone can be a leader, whether you're an introvert, an extrovert, or ambivert. Yes, and that's what I want to see, that there is no right kind of leader. I do think there are right skills that make a better leader, but I think anyone can be a leader, and you need to use your strengths. And these are some other ways then, suggestions for maybe an introvert here, and delegate tasks, because that'll even make you look better as a leader, feel better as a leader, and that'll help empower your team members too. When you give them the ability and the floor to let their talents shine, they are gonna love it. And you are still leading, but you're leading more from behind the scenes, and you're leveraging your business, your staff, your company, where you're using the best strengths from your teammates, and that makes everyone better. That makes your company better. And then after you are using these skills, you can ask for some feedback too, and self-improve, continually self-improve, and take in that feedback from other people, and that also builds confidence in yourself and your staff and you, and you continue to develop new leadership skills in the process too. And I think most importantly, be yourself, be who you are. Don't pretend you're an extrovert when you're not. There's no qualification of being an extrovert to be an excellent leader. Just be true to yourself, true to who you are, be open and honest with your team, and you're going to build the trust and respect that you deserve in that position. So that's a little bit more. Okay. Hey, JP. Hey, Jill, thanks for the leadership discussion yesterday. I'm excited about critical thinking topic you have for us today. I am too, but I did just finish answering that one for you, JP. And that was about the difference, not difference of an extrovert, but how an introvert can use their skills appropriately for a leadership position and be an excellent, excellent leader. So, okay. And one other thing from Robert Schmidt yesterday, he commented that some companies and organizations want their employees to stay longer. And yes, that is very true, but sometimes they don't value the employees. And that really is a problem. And I just, for the life of me, can't figure out why they don't piece those things together. If somebody is loving your company, loving the atmosphere, they're going to want to stay. And even as a friend of mine says, people will work harder for praises than raises. And I find this to be true very much of the time. Of course, we all want more raises, but we know that can't always happen. So we're pretty good with praises too. So it is nice to be acknowledged. Maybe not a big praise or something more obvious, but you want to be appreciated. The bottom line is we all need to be appreciated, and that's how you get the best out of people when you lift them up. And it can be any kind of a way. And even just a simple, nice comment to somebody is a way to lift them up. And isn't it worth it? So thank you very much for all those questions and all that discussion. And now we need to move forward into our critical thinking topic. So if you have any questions for me before we get started, just let me know. Critical thinking, it is such a passion of mine. And I probably make it obvious because 3 of my books are about critical thinking. I wanted to make sure I hit every category. Just in general, I wanted to hit the medical world. I wanted students to get covered in the whole critical thinking world. So critical thinking is such an important part, especially because right now we live in a fast-paced world with all this information-rich stuff coming right at us. And we need to know how to sort through this information and do something good with it. And we need to know the truth behind it. And we just need to learn how to use this information and be able to make the best decisions that we can. There's just so much information coming at us that it can be deceiving. And one of my discussions earlier, I did mention that in 2012, an act was written called the Smith Modernization Act, and it was actually approved in 2013. And this allowed the media to falsely propagate to us. So they are allowed to lie to us now. And this is huge information any way you look at it. Now we really need to spend time discerning the truth of the information presented to us. And one obvious way is to look at 2 different companies, let's just say media companies owned by different owners that can have the same story and a different position on the story. And that tells you it right there. And it often seems like the way they get the most followers is whoever is more emotional. Hi, Robert. Hi, Jill. Just coming back to listen to you. Well, I hope you heard, I acknowledged you and your comment before. Thank you for the comment about valuing employees. And boy, isn't that true? You know, you just would think it would be so easy to get that. But anyway, I appreciate you being here and thank you for your comment. So back to the media. That makes it so important for us to evaluate the situation rather than whoever is the loudest, whoever is the most emotional. There is so much emotion in the media today that part of it's intimidating and part of it's deceiving. So that makes it even more important for us to analyze it properly and really think about it. And it takes practice. And in my book, I ask question after question after question. And I do believe Alex Trebek would have been very proud of me, because everything is in the form of the question. Even at my table of contents, every chapter is a question. So I ask all throughout every chapter and at the end of every chapter. And you will be a pro at critical thinking by the time you read any of my critical thinking books. I don't give you a choice. I ask question after question, and I try to make it as neutral as possible in every scenario that I present there and with every topic that I present, because it's important for you to make the decision. It doesn't matter which side you pick, as long as you're the one picking it for your own reasons, not because somebody was emotional to you, not because somebody had more persuasion or intimidated you. So just the basis is for you to start analyzing both sides of it. So you step back, you take your emotion out of it, you take your bias out of it, and don't judge the situation yet, and hear both sides. If you need to, then do a little more research. But make sure you check the credibility of your sources before you do, because you want to know that you're getting the best information that you can, the most accurate information that you can. And it's not always easy, and you might not always have all the information that you need, but do the best that you can. Then you evaluate both sides. And sometimes there's an obvious answer, and sometimes you've just got to kind of make an educated guess and then go with it until you receive more information. If you receive more information, your opinion can change at that point. But until then, just stick with your guns, and you've done the research, and then you can have confidence in that. And this is step 3 of my program, because you have to have a basis of believing in yourself and knowing that you are aligning with your values. So you're evaluating this information based on the alignment of the values that you've already predetermined that you've set, and you've pre-programmed when you did your reprogramming. So that's the importance of how this is a 3-step process. And then you can feel confident that the decision you come up with is a good decision. And critical thinking is not only for evaluating the truthfulness of information, which is very huge, but it's also used for making decisions. And there are so many decisions that come to us that there may not be a right or wrong answer, but there's one that could be a little more right for you. And to be able to analyze both sides of some kind of scenario is really important. So not only for testing or evaluating the truthfulness of information, but you also want to know that you can make good, logical, sound, reasonable decisions, no matter what the topic is or when you're presented with it. Sometimes you need to do it quickly. So it's important to be able to assess the information on the spot and trust your instincts. And then other times you're able to take that time and really evaluate it and look up this information and do a lot of research and feel comfortable behind it. So does anyone have any questions so far about critical thinking? There are so many amazing ways to go with this topic. And like I said, I wrote 3 books worth because it was so interesting to me and so important. And right now, in society, it does appear like, if you've heard the terms herd mentality, people just hear something and then just follow along. And that can really be a dangerous situation if you don't know where they're going. So I believe in individuality. Be your own individual. Find out the answers first rather than conform based on information you may not even heard yet. So that I am very strong about is individuality versus conformity. So that's a big part of my book. I'm not sure if you've ever heard of Stanley Milgram. He was back and a psychologist who analyzed some of the Nuremberg trials that were going on. And they looked at how people just were able to, Robert says, break down complex problems or issues into smaller components to understand their interrelationships and implications. Consider the broader context and potential consequences of different courses of action. Wow, that's a wonderful statement, Robert. Thank you for sharing that. And yes, that helps in so many different ways to break it down into smaller components and then deal with each one separately. That really prevents you from getting overwhelmed. And it just makes it easier to solve issues in smaller contexts like that. So thank you very much for sharing that. And now with Stanley Milgram, he was looking at how all these people who are everyday average people could be tools for disaster. They could actually harm people and they didn't even know the people. So this was a really big example of a type of herd mentality. And what the point of it was to look at, where does your obedience lie? How are people affected by just their orders, people in charge, and just doing what you're supposed to do or for a cause? So I talk about all these things in the book of different scenarios that could get you caught up into making a decision. And he found out that people were very prone to just follow without question their leadership. And actually it lended to a lot of really bad deaths. Well, I guess I can just come right out and say that. But, a lot of people, they hurt a lot of people because they just followed what everybody else was doing without question. They did not question it. Bob comments, what do you think about people who think they're exercising critical thinking, but not really? Well, that does happen a lot. Yeah, that is a very good statement. Not everybody really understands how to critically think. And it is about asking questions, but you have to be unbiased. And a lot of people could be asking questions, but they have their bias in there. So they're kind of leaning towards an answer already. And that's not the proper way to do it. It really has to be asking questions and looking at both sides of a story and not making a decision yet. Collecting that information, then analyzing it, thinking about it, and then without any other influence, coming up with your decision. But yes, some people do maybe consider that they are critically thinking just because they're asking questions, but it doesn't always mean you're critically thinking. There really is a skill to it. And I do get into the contents of what is critical thinking. That's actually my chapter 2. My chapter 1 is asking the question, who connects your dots? And that is asking you to bring yourself to an awareness. Are you connecting your own dots, or are you influenced in some way? And I bring up many different ways that you could be influenced. And it just really gets you to question yourself and where your thinking is coming from. Let's see. Mark John asks, does critical thinking take emotions, or can critical thinking be in sync with emotions? Really, the idea of critical thinking is to leave emotions out. It's a logical process. It's based on facts or as much information and data as you can collect. Sometimes there are situations where you don't have all that and you do have to make an educated guess, but it is based on as much logic and reasoning as possible, but not emotion. Emotions are a gift to us, and they are a wonderful, wonderful thing to have, but they're not so reliable when it comes to decision making. So critical thinking is about setting the emotions aside and to use as much fact-based evidence as you can and leave the bias, the prejudice out of it. Thank you for that question. That was a really good question. And critical thinking can also lead just to a better way to communicate and better way to solve problems. You can find more potential solutions by using critical thinking. So it's just such a good manner of leaving things up to chance. you know more about what it is, and you could just use your logic then to make better decisions. But Stanley Milgram did show with quite a bit of evidence that people may have a tendency to just follow leadership and not worry about the consequences. You can read all about it online in his stories, but he did do studies where he had students and then the experimenters, where the people in the experiment had to give pain in a voltage to a student if they made a mistake, and they could increase. And they couldn't see that student, but they could hear what they had pre-recorded blood curdling screams, so that they felt like they were hurting that student, and it was real to them. But the students were actually actors and they didn't get hurt. But he collected all this information to see that these people almost went all the way to a 450 volt jolt, and which is, it could be fatal in some cases, but it definitely left some blood curdling yells out there. And that was part of the study. Most of them did ask if it was okay that they're doing this. But once they were given a series of 4 statements, like, yep, this is part of the experiment, continue on, they all went on. So it was kind of a fascinating finding. And there are many studies that you can read about that. But that just kind of showed how people do tend to want to follow authority. And following authority is really good, but it doesn't hurt to question it, because not all the time do you have the right leaders in place. So it doesn't hurt to match up the authority with your values. It's okay to ask questions, and then you need to make a decision if you want to stay there, if this is where you want to be, if you really can go through with it. So no matter what, it's just so important to include critical thinking in everything that you do. Even if there is somebody in authority over you, it doesn't hurt to question if something doesn't feel right, if your values feel like they're being compromised. That's a time to start asking questions. Robert says we have to reflect in our own thought processes and biases, and be willing to consider our beliefs and assumptions in light of new information or perspectives. Very nice. Thank you for sharing that, Robert. Yes, when there is new information and new light that comes forward, it is the perfect time to reevaluate. And that is a huge part of critical thinking. Once new information is presented, it's time to reevaluate, reassess, and reanalyze where you're at and in your thinking. Well, it looks like I'm running low on time again already. And boy, this is an exciting subject. I may need to go into this a little bit more tomorrow, because I think there's a lot more to be said. So tomorrow might be a mixture of critical thinking and disease prevention, or just all critical thinking. I guess it'll be a surprise, and we'll see how that goes. But I really had a great time here with you today. Thank you so much for coming today. I want to thank Reader's Magnet and direct you to my website, www.abookintime.net. And thank you, audience. It was wonderful again to be here with you. And so it'll be a surprise what tomorrow's topic is. So you're going to need to come back and find out what that is. So have a wonderful day, and I hope to see you soon.